What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of Spoiler Alerts. I'm Chanmanv, joined today by Ellohime. What's up, buddy?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
That's
the first time you heard that one.
That's my man. That's my
Zeke
man.
does that all the time. Zeke is the one that does that all the time. Anytime I go and watch, like, if he was streaming right now, I could jump in there and say hi in his chat, and he would sing it. 100%
Oh, really?
guaranteed. It's the
Oh,
only
man, that's
concrete
awesome.
thing in my world. Okay?
I didn't even know that. Okay, I totally didn't know that. So that's freaking awesome.
You're not funny, Chimmy, okay? All right,
I thought I was original as shit, dude. God, man. And of course, Diction, EatMyDiction1. What's up, man?
What is up? I just woke up.
I just
Nice
woke
shirt.
up. Yes.
We all did. We all
Yes.
just woke up.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Shh.
Hey, don't be too loud, guys.
Yeah,
Quiet.
exactly. My
yeah,
head's
we're
still
gonna talk.
spinning.
We're
out.
gonna talk real quietly about BoJack Horseman.
Yeah,
Sip on
that's gonna be
coffee.
pretty hard, man. That's gonna be
Can we all
totally
lay
hard.
down? Actually, can we just lay down and talk about it?
Yeah, like the therapist.
Like we're high school kids on our cell phones, talking to our friends.
Yeah.
Well, like my dad didn't care about me growing up. So.
Oh my god.
Oh, we're
that'd be
talking
so
about
awesome.
BoJack. This
I mean,
vulnerable position just made me go right into it. Dude, I love your shirt, Diction.
Oh yeah,
which
the
one is
Skull
it?
Cats.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's such a
nice.
classic
Oh,
Loot
nice.
Crate shirt, and I can't find mine, and I'm so sad.
All the shirts I used to have that weren't Loot Crate have been destroyed over just wear and tear over time. So now it's literally when I open my drawer, I'm like, okay, which Loot Crate shirt am I going to wear today? I have dozens of them now.
So you don't retire shirts? You do, right?
No.
I'm retired of shirts.
Oh
There
my
are some
God.
shirts that are so old, but they're still in decent shape, but I don't wear them outside because they're gross.
Yeah.
No matter how much I wash them, they've permanently been tarnished. So those are my I'm chilling inside watching TV shirt,
That's a lot of my my very first Ellohime shirt. They sent me 5 of them or something, and all of those shirts, the emblems all cracking, and it can be just washed, and I put it on. I'm like, what's that smell? I'm like,
What's that smell? Dude, you guys are
I have worn these so much that I have ingrained my stink into them. So I was
Okay,
like,
I
it's
don't know.
time to just. This is just a make love to chorus shirt now.
Oh my god! You
shirt you
can
wear when
wash
you go to
these
make love.
things.
Yeah, no, I washed it. It's just permanently in it. Chanmanv, addiction. Maybe you know this. Maybe some people who, there's a point where your essence gets in your clothing and you can't get it out.
Oh my god.
Have you ever done a 24-hour stream sitting on a leather DX racer chair?
Oh,
Whatever
Jesus.
boxers you're wearing are done.
Jesus.
They're
Oh
done.
man. The sad thing is I can completely relate to that. Crazy.
Yeah, you're so judgmental,
Oh,
coming at me.
That's hilarious.
Well, we're not here to talk about our stinky boxers.
I could talk about my stinky boxers for hours.
Well, but could we? Could we?
Fuck BoJack.
It's fuck BoJack.
Yeah, let's fuck BoJack and talk about stinky boxers. No, so this week, guys, for spoiler alert, again, the premise of spoiler alert is we take a form of media such as movies, TV shows, video games, anime, and we go and watch them like a book club, and then we come back and we discuss them. So the show that we went out and watched over the course of the last month because of PAX, and
It seriously
because of
has been a month.
My sleep schedule last week was completely fucked because of PAX.
It's okay. You don't have to defend yourself. It just makes you look more guilty.
I do.
Yeah, that's right.
BoJack Horseman is the show that we chose about a month ago now. 3 seasons of it, so it was a lot to watch to begin with.
It was. It definitely was.
It was a kind of what's the word?
Marathon.
Marathon. No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about it was not prestigious, but an
arduous task, maybe? Or
Undertaking.
Undertaking.
It was it was an undertaking.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Right.
We were shooting for the stars. Anyway, so we are here now to talk about it, and then at the end of the show, we're going to reveal our next form of media, and we will talk about that next week. Oh wait, we can't talk about it next week.
Yeah, we'll be at TwitchCon, so
Yeah.
it'll be.
And I'm gonna be out of
following
town
week.
even the following week, we got to talk about this because I'm going to be out of
God.
town. I'm going to still be in San Diego.
Our show is falling apart.
Our show is falling apart. This is tough because it's like it's TwitchCon. Like, I mean, the cons will slow down after this pretty much, except for BlizzCon maybe. But after BlizzCon, I don't think I'm attending anything else.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we might be able to do a different day too. So we can try to figure it out.
Swap it around.
Yeah, we can talk about that
Yeah.
too. But anyways, so we'll reveal that at the end of the show, and then you guys will have at least a couple weeks to watch whatever we pick. But it's not going to be that bad. So let's talk about BoJack Horseman, because BoJack Horseman was something that BoJack Horseman was something that I picked because these guys picked a couple things for several weeks. So I came out with this, and I think this is the only thing comedy that we've talked about so far on the show. Is that?
Mm-hmm, that's true.
Which seems kind of weird that it took us this long to get to comedy, considering that Diction and I basically make our lives on comedy as entertainers. I'm
not funny. I'm not fucking funny.
You're not. Just you saying that made me laugh. So we're gonna start this show. I'm gonna say I know is not necessarily for everybody, but I feel like people who give it a chance, especially get through the first season, end up liking it quite a bit. So let's just start there. I'll ask both of you guys.
Sure.
Did you like the show? Did you not like the show? And then just tell us some things you liked, some things you didn't. We'll just start from there.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. So it took me, I'll be honest, and it took me like, I'd say about 3 episodes before I felt like I was like into the swing. I mean, overall, like I ended up really enjoying the series, and it's kind of a series or a type of TV sitcom that I haven't really watched in a while. At least a fun, like a comedy. So it was definitely refreshing to kind of again start watching something in this genre or this type of thing, because I don't know, I've just been watching so many serious things these days, or just some things that are just completely just brainless and mindless. So this was actually really, really, really great. Just the whole sarcasm and the wit and everything in the writing. But yeah, so it took me, I would say about 3 episodes. Then I started kind of getting it. And then after the first season 2 and season 3 were very easy to watch and very, very enjoyable. But yeah, overall, I just think the writing is fantastic in the show. And the voice actors are great too, and I mean all the voice actors are known actors, that are known comedy actors too. So I was really, really happy that they picked just like Will Arnett. I mean, he's like a fantastic as BoJack. Yeah. But yeah, so first impressions, I really, really enjoyed it.
By the way, before we keep going, if you guys have an opinion or a question or just want to chime in with whatever, you can talk to Monkey Overlord. He should be in the chat. And he's waiting for you guys, and you can jump on a call with him. He'll set up your audio, and then you can jump on the show once we get to that portion of the show. So just throwing it out there. I forgot to mention it.
Yeah,
Diction, what'd you? Go ahead.
We're doing it in Discord. So here's the Discord link, guys. Just go in there and talk to Monkey, and then he'll get you set up.
Okay, sounds good. If you need help, just ask him. They'll guide you.
Yeah,
sure. So Diction, what do you think?
I really liked it. I'd seen it when it first aired on Netflix, like the first season years ago, or like 2 years ago. I watched it with my ex-girlfriend. We only watched the first 4 episodes or so, and we liked it. But then we were really into what was it called, Hoarders. So we probably just like stopped watching to watch Hoarders. But
Hoarders,
going like
yes.
so I started back over, or I didn't start over. I started it from where I left off. And that episode had like a really big arc in it, I believe. Episode 5, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember there being an arc that was like carried into future episodes. And I was like, oh, okay, so this isn't just some dumb comedy show about anthropomorphic animals in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, like the writing is great. The lampooning of Hollywood culture is extremely sharp and spot on. And I was really impressed with their world building, which is something that I think is underappreciated in a lot of media. Like the reason everyone who likes John Wick likes it is not because of the action or Keanu Reeves, because they built an entire world in that movie, that was like unique and cool. It felt like a comic book, and they stuck with it. And I was worried that BoJack Horseman would just be like Family Guy, where it's like, oh, animals can talk, okay, right. And it's just an afterthought. But there was a lot of like they really stick with this idea of these animals living amongst humans and that they're treated like just other people essentially, but they have their own cultures. And like I love the thing with like the birds, they don't have wings, but they can still fly by flapping their arms and stuff. And particularly when the underwater episode where he goes to a foreign country, which is just underwater where the sea animals live and stuff, right. And he can't speak. So that was like that hit me. And also it deals with a lot of really fucking deep issues and gets pretty emotional over the course of the series. A lot of really hard truth bombs are dropped on BoJack and a couple other characters that I did not expect. So I didn't expect it to get as deep as it did for, you know, a show that's just about, you know, like fucking how stupid Hollywood is basically.
It's funny because whenever I think about BoJack, I never think about the world. But now that you've mentioned it, it is a big part of what they do. Like you said, a lot of shows wouldn't take the time to build that kind of world, and they did. I think they did it successfully. Like I feel like once you're done with season 1, you've got a pretty good idea of what their society is kind of like. It's almost like this super politically correct, but they aren't in their, you know, in the privacy of their own homes kind of thing. You know, like it mimics our real world kind of in a lot of ways. But it's funny that you would mention the world building, because when I talk to people about BoJack, that's never brought up.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is one of the most important things I think about the show, because it gives you a sense of story and narrative over just kind of the sitcom-y feel. Like to come in, enjoy yourself for 30 minutes, and then get out of there. Those are what those episodes kind of feel like sometimes. But I feel like you get drawn in because you realize that there's a bigger telling here. There's a journey that you're following BoJack on, you know, ups and downs, mostly downs. How do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about the downs? Actually, let me ask you before I get there. Let me ask you guys: was there ever moments in the show where did you watch this solo pretty much, or did you watch this with somebody? First,
I watched this solo.
Okay, were there any times that you guys found yourself laughing out loud while you were solo watching? And can you remember what scene that was?
Definitely a lot of times, but
there was a lot of times.
To which scenes? Oh gosh.
See, here's the thing: is that like whenever I watch stuff solo, and even if it's comedy, even if I think it's funny, sometimes I don't laugh out loud. It's weird. Like sometimes, like I don't laugh at everything I see, even when I think it's funny.
I didn't laugh at everything.
Something really has to hit me. Like something has to really hit me, like in a very pure, funny way for me to laugh out loud when I'm sitting here by myself. And I know it's kind of a weird thing, but I found myself laughing a lot at this out loud, especially at Mr. Peanut Butter.
Yeah,
Mr. Peanut Butter.
He's
Todd.
awesome.
Almost everything Todd says is pretty chuckle worthy. Sometimes to the point of guffawing. I've definitely I love Todd so much. He's my spirit animal.
I mean, there's this one. I mean, this I don't even know why, but the one scene that I remember just outright just laughing and just like shaking my head as to like, why am I even laughing? Is that there's that one part where, I think the line is like, slap my salami, this guy's a commie or something like that, because it was just so cliche and generic. But I was sitting there, I literally chuckled out loud because I was just shaking my head like, why the fuck am I laughing so much at this? But like that, I don't know, that was one example that sticks out. I mean, there were a lot of them, like Todd, for instance. Yeah, everything that Todd says is just like, oh my gosh. I mean, this is like
gold.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of expect it from him, but then it's just like, oh my, did he really just said that? Oh my god, that's so funny. Especially the first season. I think Todd in the first season is like the epitome of that character, and then he starts developing, you know, the seasons afterwards.
Yeah,
so
I was worried they were just gonna leave him as the naive buffoon character the entire time, but like he has some episodes where he just fucking lays down the truth to BoJack in very harsh terms.
Yeah.
And those parts like really fucking got to me. I was like, oh shit, Todd's a lot more aware of things than I thought.
Yeah, he puts up with a lot of stuff just because he's a really chill person. Like he just kind of goes with it. That's kind of who he is. I mean, even when it comes to his relationships and his sexuality, it's kind of the way he goes too. He's just like
at the end,
I'm who I am. I don't know. I'm just here. Like this is just what I do. But you do see scenes where it does reveal that he's got more going on, especially like the rock opera that he has
that,
going.
that just brought me back to like forgetting Sarah Marshall or whatever. Just that whole didn't that bring you back to that whole thing?
It did.
Oh,
It did.
So good. It's so
was
good.
he doing a rock opera too? I know that it was
He
doing
was
like
doing
a horror.
The vampire,
But it was with puppets.
Yeah, the puppets.
Yeah.
Oh, that cracked me up. But
That
yeah,
shit was good. I love
good.
you know, you were saying slap my salami, he's a commie or whatever.
Yeah.
You can tell whoever writes that show really has fun with writing, because they throw in all those alliteration sentences that they build on. It's like when he takes the muffins from the SEAL, the Navy SEAL guy. It's like in the first season, and the guy's talking about on the radio, and he's like, how could you steal a something from Steve McBeal, the Navy SEAL, you know?
Yeah.
Steal a meal. There it is.
There,
steal a meal from Steve McBeal, the Navy SEAL. But they build on these sentences and they end up doing these long alliterations.
Yeah.
That's like one example of like, it happens 10 or 15 times during the show. And I can just see somebody in a writing room somewhere just like, what all can I rhyme together in a sentence, have it make sense, and still pertain to the story? And just sit there for hours coming up with these lines.
They have a lot of fun with the background details that showcase like the different types of animals and how they would conform to society. My favorite was like, it was just in the last season, and he goes to some sort of gala, and he's like, there's the what do you call them when they take your car and they park it for you?
Valet,
and it's like a border collie, and he like keeps throwing the keys because he's trying to have a conversation. He's like, I'll get it every time he goes. It's like that's like little details like that. I think are just like so charming and great.
They did that with Mr. Peanut Butter a couple times too. You know, just like here boy kind of thing, right? Yeah, his ears go up. Yeah. No, but
that whole episode with him, and the skunk.
The skunk. Oh, yeah.
That episode is so good because it's like his wife tells him, like, whatever you do, don't start a fight with that skunk. He's like, okay, and he like it pans out, and he's already covered in
skunk stank.
He does so many dogisms in that episode, especially.
Yeah,
because like he puts they bathe in tomato juice. And then he walks out with the towel on, and Princess Caroline's like, "Don't shake."
Yeah, that's
He's
right.
Like, oh, I can't help. He's like, "Don't shake." Oh, he shakes it off. He's like, "Well, that didn't make anything better."
No, they do a really good job with the whole animal thing, and I mean, what's really cool is like I don't think it was until like season 3. I mean, at least I don't remember anything until like one of the episodes in season 3 where they even mention just humans. You know, like. I forgot if it was Mr. Peanut Butter or even BoJack mentioning humans versus, an animal. Like it's just, like you guys like mentioned before, their society or their world is just completely accepting of, the animals. And I don't know if it's like so much as a race or whatnot, but I found myself almost the entire series just accepting that, horses and dogs and humans, I mean, they're literally all the same, in this world.
They just live together.
Yeah, exactly. But there was one point where somebody was talking, Diane or somebody was talking about humans versus like a horse or something, and it was just like, oh yeah, that's okay. That's interesting that they're they're really talking about it, because outside the jokes, like you guys, like the dog, or Mr. Peanut Butter, and the whole tomato sauce, there really isn't that much differentiation. It's mostly just jokes, so that really pertain to the animals or the differences in that.
Yeah, it's got a lot of the for lack of a better term, animal lore.
Animal lore. Yeah,
animal lore. I mean, if you understand like animals, if that's interesting to you, then that a male seahorse gives birth to its young, not a female. It's one of the only or few species in the world, whatever. So they incorporate that, like when he's on the bus, which was one of the parts that made me crack up laughing. You've got this tough man, seahorse looking dude, this factory worker.
Yeah.
And then he like grabs BoJack's shoulder, or whatever. And you're thinking like, what the fuck is about to happen here? And then he gives birth to all these seahorses, It's like, it's clever because it takes our perception of humanity, puts it in an animal realm where this is totally natural. And then just like fucks with your thinking on it, you know, like it just like kicks you in the brain a little bit.
It's a lot more well thought out than,
Yeah.
like I said earlier, than just like talking animals. Like they actually really, I feel like they have someone on hand who's like an oceanographer, or like, you know, like someone who like knows like animal behaviors and stuff. It's like, yeah, that would be pretty funny if you did this. That would be realistic. You know, that's what this animal does.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm waiting for an echidna to show up, and then they just do like a fucking blatant penis shot with that 6-pronged penis or something. You know, like something really out there.
Oh my god.
Speaking of animal lore,
Oh,
yeah, I found a lot of those jokes, and that's what, for those of you who have already watched through the season, if you're planning to make another run through it, if you love it that much, which I do, I've watched through it several times now, especially the first season, you'll have fun picking out things like that you missed before. There's so many jokes that build on itself, and there's so many jokes that happen in the background just casually as you're watching other things that you'll miss a lot.
That's true.
Like when I had watched the first season probably 5 or 6 times. Jesus. And yeah, I love it. I'm a big fan. It was in like my 4th run through that I realized that when BoJack was going to go to this roast, like we would do like the roast of Eat My Diction.
Yeah.
They go to the roast, and there's like a big flame, and it's like roast here. This is like a shot, just a still shot of the outside. Well, I never noticed that there's like 2 moth people out there just like flying around outside the roast, because it's a big thing of fire, right?
So, okay.
Yeah, you'll miss that because it's just an establishing shot. Like, oh, we're just showing the roast, you know, and your eyes are on the roast, but you don't see these 2 moths like hovering around the fire like moths do, you know, moth people. But it's funny too, because there's even some species racism too.
Yeah, right.
And that pops up as well occasionally. I believe there's a comment that Diane makes, like, we should handle this like humans handle it, or something like that. And somebody else will probably quote me on this, and BoJack's like, what, grab AK-47s and kill each other or something like that? And then she's like, no, is that how you see humans? Like, it's like, is that how you see us? You know, like we just go to war whenever we have a disagreement. But it's funny because it's coming from a horse, you know, like a horse isn't necessarily a human. He has no association in that realm. Whereas in our world, everybody's a human, you know, that is getting into these political talks. We've never seen like the point of view from a horse, or the point of view from like a dog, or, you know, what is racist to a dog is offering chocolate to a dog, you know, like rude, you know, that kind of thing. So it's very clever. And it's one thing I wish they would kind of explore that more a little bit, just kind of how the world works, really, because they throw it at you in small doses, which is nice. But I think by season 4 we should maybe get a little bit more concrete answers, because they have like the Labrador Peninsula, you know, like some of them are like segregated in
Nothing
places.
That ever happens on Labrador Peninsula.
And you would imagine that like a golden retriever, you know, peninsula would be like that. Like everyone's happy. It's just golden retrievers everywhere. They're always happy. They're always, you know, fun loving. So I don't know. I wish they would go a little bit more into that, but for the most part, I really enjoy that. Let me ask you guys a question that I was going to ask earlier. Was there anything that you did you expect it to get as deep as it got?
Nope. After watching like the first few, I thought it was going to be like kind of Family Guy-ish, you know, like just episode to episode, and you know, there just wouldn't be much depth to the characters, you know, like it's kind of like what you see, and just be like never-ending jokes basically from episode to episode.
Zingers constantly.
Yeah. But so they did a really good job of developing stuff, and I mean, it was mostly BoJack, I would say, in the first season, where they, you know, they really went to certain, you know, just deep place, you know, maybe even dark places for BoJack. But then they started doing it for all the characters, and I mean, that's when I started really enjoying it, you know, just seeing where they would go, you know, how far they would go with some of these characters that, like Diane, for instance, right? Diane in the first season seemed to be like the most centered person in the in the series. But then, you know, you go season 2 to season 3, then she starts having, you know, her kind of lost issues, and you know, where she's trying to find herself too. So, but overall, yeah, I thought it was really cool. Like some of the things, just what they did with like drugs, or what they did with like pretty much depression, and just some of those issues that a lot of people struggle with, right? I kind of found myself thinking, I can, this is like a really good parallel to a lot of things that are happening, whether it's in Hollywood, or if even it's just with a lot of people with celebrity. Exactly, very very tapped in, and that's where it started resonating with me, especially one of my favorite episodes is the last episode, right? And like, there's a lot to talk about the last episode, so we'll probably get into that. But the last episode, I think it's just where it just kind of culminates too, and even leave some questions at the end too, as to like, what's going on, with BoJack right at the end there. But yeah, I mean, that's the part where I think BoJack kind of, goes to the next level, is really how deep they go with some controversial topics too.
Yeah, and how casually they do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like they have a joke, or like a little skit about like giving your child away to an actor to like do sexual things with, for fame. Like the parents are like, "Oh, this is our shot. This is our shot
that's
at
right.
fame."
I know you're talking about.
Like, and the mom's like, "Do you think it's inappropriate? Do you think his his interest in our child is inappropriate, or could be?" And the dad's like, "Who cares? We're gonna be famous, pretty much." And it's like, fuck, that's dark. Like, that's so dark.
Accurate. You remember?
But it's accurate.
The stuff's been coming out recently, right? Just about that whole Hollywood sex ring thing with child actors.
I didn't read about that.
Yeah, that's been coming out recently with some of
it's one of those things you assume is there.
It's crazy,
never
man.
talked about because it always gets covered up, like that kind of thing. But the way they do it so casually, it speaks a lot to the culture too, because it's par for the course over there. Is our child? Is this inappropriate? Who cares? We're gonna be famous. Like
right.
It happens so often that it's so casual in the show. Like, it's just a throwaway joke. Like, it's not even like really you would think, and it's like Sarah Lynn. Sarah Lynn is, one of the biggest characters of the show.
Yeah.
And it shows not like directly, it's not like throwing this out here like in your face, look at this. But throughout the show, you get to learn about Sarah Lynn up until she dies. Yes, I said it. She dies, because it's a spoiler.
That's a spoiler, damn it.
She died. I almost was hesitant to say dies. She dies, and you just kind of get glimpses of her life through flashbacks here and there, and some comments she says. And in those comments and in those flashbacks, you can surmise that she was a really good kid. All she wanted was to spend time with people and get to know them. She was abused by her stepdad, who ends up being a bear who takes pictures of her because he's a photographer. No relation to Pedo Bear there. But they have like little jokes like that. Like she never comes out and says like, "Oh, my dad abused me." She just says in one sentence, "Oh yeah, my dad was a photographer." And then in a sentence later, she'll go, "Yeah, my dad was a bear. I know how that smells because I know what bears smell like because my stepdad was a bear." Right. And you start to kind of put it together, and you realize like, oh my God, Sarah Lynn's this like tragic figure. She's that Lindsay Lohan, that
child celebrity.
Yeah, a Disney princess that grows up into a Disney slut. Like that kind of thing. That classic tale, that Disney tale,
the classic tale.
Child working for stardom ends up slut. But it's a big issue, and these kids like don't have a fucking chance. Like, they really don't. They're children. The only person looking out for them is their parents most of the time, if that. And the parents are so blinded by their own, need to be famous, that they put their kid in these horrible situations. And this show kind of reveals it a little bit, like shines that light, but it's all so casual, because that's just Hollywood. That's just Hollywood. And what's and that's the thing. That's what makes it so funny to me, is like, it's just like, who cares if her dad's a pedophile and takes pictures? It's Hollywood.
Exactly. What's interesting about the Sarah Lynn thing too is that, at one point I think they introduced Sarah Lynn in a way where, she goes to BoJack, but she's very manipulative at that point, right? And she's like, staying at BoJack's and partying at BoJack's and that, and that whole bit, right? And as they develop her character a bit more, you can see that at one point, BoJack's trying to be, kind of a father figure to her, right? Or looking out to her. And in the end, he ends up, he ends up, I mean, being one of the reasons why she kind of falls off the wagon again, right? And they just go on this crazy binge, which I believe like eventually leads to her death. I mean, it's not like
Yeah, it
completely clear about it, but it definitely alludes that it led to her death, and in how BoJack deals with that. But it's just kind of like I think it's parallel to maybe like what happens to some of these stars. Even these stars like go and seek advice from other celebrities, and these other celebrities are very broken too, and they have their own issues. And so, yeah, I mean, it might start off like, BoJack's looking out for Sarah Lynn, but then BoJack has his own demons, and then he falls into it, which ends up leading to, the potential demise of both of them, and it was just really cool. It's just definitely a really, really interesting parallel there.
When it comes back too in the next show, like the show he's doing, instead of horsing around, it's what's his name and around or whatever.
Oh, it's just it's the revamp of it or whatever.
Yeah, and he talks to the little girl, and the little girl's like,
that made me crack up when I heard the title, Ethan Around.
Ethan.
Like,
yeah, Ethan Around.
So it doesn't even make sense, but it kind of does.
But like the little girl on there, he's like super nice to her, and he's like, well, what do you want? He's like, oh, I want to be like you. It's like he saw the Sarah Lynn thing happening all over again, and he just couldn't do it anymore. He's like, I can't do this again, because he basically, in a lot of ways, and obviously this is, people are gonna back and forth about this, but like BoJack's selfishness ends up killing Sarah Lynn.
Yep.
Like it ends up killing her. That's it. I mean, it didn't allude. I mean, at the end of the episode, allude to it. But I mean, she died, and she died. She was, and I think it makes it a point to say like, hey, she's however many months sober, like 9 months sober, and then BoJack's like, hey, come hang out and party with me. And then she's just like, all right, and just
rips off.
There's like a vodka, a bottle of vodka right there. Yeah,
let's do it. She was okay. She was okay for 9 months. She was doing it on her own.
Yeah,
and she was getting better. And even BoJack says he's like, I'm more of a before rehab friend, not so much of an after rehab friend.
Yeah,
Yeah. And he leads to her missing her own like Oscar and ultimately dying.
Yeah.
And all because he's just like super selfish, But that go ahead.
I was gonna say, and like that whole relationship, obviously led to obviously a very, very bad outcome. But they have like another similar relationship in the series too, where it's Diane and BoJack, right? And Diane, I mean, at one point says that she doesn't want to hang out with BoJack because he's so similar to her, and she'll just end up in a bad place because of like they both will just bring each other down and maybe into a form of depression. So that's why she's trying to stay away. And obviously her husband is like the complete opposite, right? This super positive character in Mr. Peanut Butter, and which probably keeps her sane and keeps her out of that lull. So that's a very common theme. BoJack is like the center of this depression state, or at least taking people into this depression state, and it's like people trying to avoid him.
He's just bringing people down with him whenever he touches their lives.
Yeah, always,
exactly,
like with everybody. And what's her name? Wouldn't have any of it. The Anna, what's her name? She's got a hard name. Capatakita or something. Anna Copa something. She's the girl that gets him the Oscar. That is like promising him the Oscar.
Yeah, the agent girl. Yeah,
the agent girl. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I thought you said the Asian. I was like, no, that's
well, we can talk about that. She's not really. There's no part of her that's Asian except for the fact that they say she's Asian.
Well, she's from Boston. I mean,
I know that whole episode is awesome.
I can see why. Anyway, she tells him that, like, she tells him the long story when he goes on. It's on the same episode where Sarah Lynn dies. He goes back there like 5 or 6 times to hear the story from her because he keeps ending up somewhere else in his drunken drug, whatever. And she tells him the story about like the lifeguard and how, she used to be a lifeguard, and they told him sometimes you can't save people because they're going to pull you down with them, and so she doesn't want to hang out with him anymore because she sees everybody else's is absolute just shit, their lives and everything, from just nobody's better off being around BoJack Horseman, which is tragic, but that's just the truth of it. There's a question I had for you guys that kind of popped up at the top of my head.
Sure.
But I can't remember it. So go on.
Go on. Go on.
Go on. So Diction, let me ask you this. What character do you like the most and why?
That's a tough one,
isn't it?
Yeah, we were talking about this last week. Thanks.
I feel like Todd probably. He's the least frustrating character. Every character in the show is frustrating because they make stupid decisions, and they're like bad stupid decisions, not just like, oh, whoopsies, you know, like they're like life-alteringly stupid. But Todd, like, he makes stupid decisions all the time. They're usually just like slip on a banana peel type shit, you know?
Yeah.
And so like, I just love his naivete and like, and especially when he gets like really real with people and gives them like a firm opinion on something. But yeah, definitely Todd.
I like his aloofness.
Mm-hmm.
Like how somebody can say something, he'll be like, what? So and so has an ice cream sale, you know? like just jump into the middle of a story and just freak out about it, you know, for no reason. But that even like it's funny because they point to BoJack, like we were just talking about BoJack bringing people down, and they kind of make the whole episode about the rock opera and how BoJack sabotages that with character actress Margot Martindale, but which I think is fucking hilarious because she is a doll and nobody does know who she is. But if you see her, she's in everything. That's pretty much the whole joke. Anyways, so the episode that I see it like most with I'm losing my thoughts here. Todd was when he goes into the Urkel time machine to become, you know, Arkell. Steve Arkell or whatever, or you know what, Steve Urkel? He's the and then he goes
cloning machine. Yeah.
Who's he come out as? What's it? It's
I don't know.
It's not Urkel. It's Steve Arkell, I think is what it is. And he comes out. He's so cool, but. What's his name did this too? Todd did this too. He goes into the transformation circle, and the janitor's like, "This is not real. This is not who you should be." And he comes out like, "I'm Toad something." What does he say? I forget. He comes out, he acts all cool and stuff, and then he hits the machine, and the squirm falls out, and he grabs the six-pack, jumps on some guy's bike, and like rides off into the sunset.
Yeah,
he's like, "I'm just trying out this other personality where I'm super cool." And he is through that whole episode. He's super cool. He does all these cool things. And then he rides up to BoJack on his motorcycle with the six-pack of squirm and like tosses him one. And like BoJack says one sentence. Like one sentence like, "You look silly on a motorcycle." And he's like, "You're right. I should just give up." And he like drives, and that's when he falls over, and that's when he starts becoming Todd again. Like as soon as BoJack breaks him down. And I thought that was a bigger, like that hit me harder than like the rock opera episode and everything. Just how like awesome Todd could be if he just believed in himself, but he can't because he's living with BoJack, and BoJack constantly keeps him down on purpose. Yeah, exactly.
And then he eventually does, right? He eventually does do a very cool thing and ends up making a ton of money, which he ends up giving like $8 million tip to a waitress. That was lame. I have to say
$8 million. Oh well.
Like, I know that was kind of like, come on, man. I mean,
yeah, there's no way he's gonna let that slide. I gotta see Todd with $8 million.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta see because he's right. So many shenanigans will happen.
So many jokes will happen, man.
He can finally make Disneyland.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that Disneyland.
So there's one thing about the show that I like more than anything else, and it's how unpredictable it is. This show, when you're expecting it to say that the sky is blue, it'll say green, like almost every time, just to fuck with you. And I like that because we were talking about last time a month ago Shakespeare and how there's only like a set. There's only so many set paths.
Plot-wise, right? Yeah.
Plot-wise, it's all been done. Nothing's original. I feel like this gets as close to original as possible. It follows a story. It's not conventional. It still has, of course, the same themes that you learn in English. You know, like man versus himself, man versus nature, blah blah blah. Yeah. It still has all those like makeup. So it's not entirely original, you know. But at the same time, it's not doing the things that you think it's going to do, and it's still entertaining and it's still fun. So you think in your head, like, if it were to follow a traditional path, BoJack would have ended up with, I believe, is it Penny? Who's the deer woman? I forget her name.
Oh yeah, I think it's Penny.
It is Penny.
Yeah, I think it is Penny. Sorry, I'm just kind of on the top of my head. You know, in his drug rage, he dreams about her and being in Maine with her and having a kid and all these ideas about her.
Life.
Yeah, this normal life, and it's kind of crazy because then he meets her and she lives in like New Mexico, and it's totally different from what he imagined her to be in his head. And you would think in a perfect world that he's going to rectify this situation and maybe end up with Penny at the end, but no, it's the opposite. Not only does he not make up with Penny, he makes a move on her, which I think she facilitated but ultimately rejected. And that, if that's not bad enough for you, that he gets rejected and he's got no hope of being with this woman, he goes and tries to sleep with her daughter, like
who's not 18.
Who's not 18. Yes.
That was creepy. That was fucking creepy.
That was
they brought it back too. Like they brought that whole thing back.
Yeah, that was.
And they bring you back as a viewer too, to realize, oh shit, BoJack, while he's funny and all this stuff, BoJack is fucked up. He's 50. He's over 50 years old in this show, and it's hard to remember that because he's a horse. But if you were to see a 50-year-old, like I mean, he's 50, right? George Clooney, I guess. I guess he would be the best person to play as BoJack because I mean he's got class and stuff. But even then, like him going to the prom with the daughter and stuff like that. He's a 50-year-old man allowing them to drink. Mentally, he's still stuck back in his 20s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trying to be the cool dad.
Try to watch through any of those seasons, focusing on the fact that he's 50 years old, and it all becomes so much more disturbing.
But at the same time, say, I mean, people that might not have watched it or whatever are getting spoiled right now. Like we make it sound like he's a child predator or something, but that's not how it really plays out. How it plays out is like he is trying to be just, more of that I don't know, chaperone type of role here with the daughter. And the daughter's the one that ends up, being infatuated with BoJack, and then he actually, puts her in her place, right? Like after she did it, but it wasn't until he again fell into this kind of weird state after being rejected that he was completely vulnerable, and then he falls into this just crazy situation where he ends up, in the bedroom with the girl, and then the mom walks in.
I think it should be said
that's just crazy.
He wasn't in her bedroom. He was on his boat, and she came to him.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was so vulnerable, he didn't have the strength to say no.
Yeah.
BoJack.
Yeah.
What she says to him afterwards, like, if you're not gone in 30 minutes, I'm calling the cops. If you come near my family, I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Like, there's no friendship there. There's nothing there anymore. It's done. It's final. There's no like, I wonder if they're gonna get back together, Pam and fucking Jim from The Office kind of feelings. It's not that. It's you misconstrued this situation for 30 years in your head. You showed up with your need to be in a family or part of a family.
Yep.
You got into this family and you fit really well, and that's great. But ultimately, you burned it down, just like you do with everything else. It's that tragic figure of BoJack that's so interesting to me because it's not just I'm sad. I mean, it talks about his family. It shows his family, his parents mistreating him, and then it shows how much he loved horsing around. And horsing around, he was so good at that because he wanted so badly to be in a healthy family relationship, and he keeps trying to recreate that. Like,
and he felt like he was in it for so long, for like 12 seasons.
Yeah.
And then it was canceled, and so he got his family taken away from him. Essentially, he got that idea of a normal life completely stripped from him, and then he was just a washed up star in Hollywood, like a nobody that thinks he's somebody.
Yeah, and that's what I think makes the show interesting. I think it makes it funny in some places, like BoJack's depression can be funny, but I think it makes it way interesting. I think it makes the character have a lot of depth.
Yeah.
Because you have this part of you. It's like the Tony Soprano thing, right? Where like you have this part of you where you know how fucked up this character is, and you know how shitty this character is, and how often this character is selfish and takes advantage and manipulates people,
Mm-hmm.
but you still kind of feel bad for him, and you still kind of root for him because you get an omnipresent look at his past, and you can see everything that happened to him. He's just a product. He's a product of what he grew up with in his environment and stuff to a point. People can change, but I don't know. I find that to be the most interesting thing about BoJack is just how fucked up he is and how much you still want to root for him sometimes.
Yeah. And I like the fact how they have him as a TV star too, or a TV star that's I guess like you said, addiction, that he's a little bit washed up, but he's got the celebrity status that's not like uber celebrity status like the movie stars are, right? And they
People
exemplify
remember
that.
him, but they don't remember him fondly necessarily.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
They remember the show, but they don't really remember him.
Danny Tanner.
Well, I think it's one of those things
Danny
where Danny Tanner, exactly right. It's like the general public like remembers him and is he's beloved by like a lot of the general public, or at least the public that watched the show. But when it comes to his colleagues and people in that space, Hollywood, he doesn't have as much respect in there. So he's constantly trying to strive for that, and he has that kind of self-consciousness constantly during the show. And I don't know, that part of it I think is really, really interesting too. Just that dynamic, He somehow has like gobs of money, where he could just like go and buy a yacht for no reason, right? In Santa Fe, and he has this a Tony Stark like house that's on this cliff that's like freaking amazing. So I don't know where he got all that money, but he's obviously in a very successful actor too. But he just hasn't reached just that pinnacle, and he's constantly trying to. Every time they're talking about his career and whatnot.
Didn't he co-create the show with with what was the name, Shelby?
The gerbil?
Did he co-create?
No. The dude that got fired off the show and got cancer.
Yeah, the guy got the cancer guy.
Oh,
I remember there was a flashback where they were both struggling in Hollywood.
Yeah, they're comedians,
right?
The
show together.
Yeah.
So maybe he has a co-creator credit, and so he gets royalties from DVD sales. And
they mention it in the show that he's got residuals coming from horsing around. They mention it every now and then, like he gets money monthly for it or something like that. So that's why he's got so much money.
Yeah, insane amounts of money. No,
he just doesn't give a fuck.
Exactly.
Can I get some residuals on my past stream VODs, please?
Hey man, one day, who knows?
Exactly.
I'm watching old episodes of Ellohime.
Exactly. What's cool too is that we've been talking so much about just BoJack being that tragic figure, but my favorite character actually is Mr. Peanut Butter, because Mr. Peanut Butter is the complete opposite of him, and it just constantly reminds you about just the dynamic between the two. In the very first season, I didn't really like him as much because he was that antithesis character where you're just like, and especially a rival character too. So he wasn't necessarily this positive, just outright he's a good person positive. It was more like he's this positive dog that's annoying, like he's doing it to be annoying to BoJack and to everybody else. But then you realize the more and more the show goes on that no, he's actually just a positive person, but he's not to the point where he's a caricature, because there are moments where he does get hurt, from Diane, like let's say Diane being away for a month or whatnot, and he tells her like you need to tell me that, so he's actually a real person too, and I think that that's one of the dynamics of him that I really, really like, and the fact that he literally is the complete opposite of BoJack, and it exemplifies the flaws in BoJack constantly, because you got this positive guy who's constantly trying to push it. Things happen for him too, because he's constantly positive too. I mean, it goes to a crazy extent where he just gets lucky with everything, but still, like, it really exemplifies the fact that if you are a positive person, you constantly are doing things for other people or whatnot, the good things will happen for you too, and you're not completely selfish about things, and that's what's cool about that Mr. Peanut Butter character, where I think a lot of people probably just think of him as, oh yeah, he's just like this, like this over the top type of positive guy that's just like another comedic side of the show. But I think actually Mr. Peanut Butter is a super important part of the show.
Oh yeah, at first, like you had mentioned, I thought that he was just a huge dick.
Yeah,
like I thought the
exactly.
character they were making for him was this guy who just antagonized BoJack. You know, like,
Yeah.
oh, what is this, a crossover episode? It's like, yeah, that was funny the first 8 times, whatever.
Right.
And then like
right.
I mean, the first time
Right.
you meet him, he walks in when he's breaking up with Princess Carolyn or something like that. They're breaking up. And he's like, oh, so this would be a bad time for me
Right.
to sit down.
Exactly.
And then he pulls up a chair and like sits down. I'm like, this guy's just a dick. and as the, like as the season goes, you realize he's just, again with the word aloof, but he's just aloof. He's just a dog. He's just like, oh, I shouldn't be here. Like, just looking around, just like, hey, I'm a dog. And I agree with you. It's a complete opposite of BoJack, where BoJack in his down times, when he doesn't have a gig, lays on his couch and eats pizza all day and feels sorry for himself. When Mr. Peanut Butter didn't have a job, he's like, well, got to get out there and put my old, my old work boots on. And he starts working at Foot Locker. Like, this is a big star.
That's right. I
who just
about
goes
that.
and gets a job at Foot Locker, And also after he misses an opportunity, he's like, if I just get out there and like the wind blows this opportunity to him. Yeah. And then he's like, he throws it away. He throws the piece of paper away and then sees the Foot Locker. He's like, that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
And goes inside the Foot Locker.
Or the strain. You remember the strainers? I'm not sure if it was Todd that told him about the strainers, but actually the interaction with Todd too.
Yeah, his accountant.
It's his accountant. That's right. That's right.
Todd would say something like, "Get some spaghetti strainers."
That's right. It's like, I want you to buy all the strainers that you can possibly buy, and then there's just boxes around his house, and then in the end he ends up rescuing everybody because of this pasta overflow or whatnot, right? So yeah, I mean that was awesome. But him and Todd, right? Like, I think Mr. Peanut Butter was like, in a way, Todd's savior too, right? Because he would be supportive of all of Todd's ideas and
no matter how stupid
it was. But yeah, so
my favorite is the Uber for women thing, where it starts off as a safe space for women, and then they're like, what if we let men ride? And it's like, it's an untapped market, and then it turns into something feeling uncomfortable again. It was so, and then it devolved into like them getting like the sexy orcas from the strip club to like, because they're like, yeah, this is a service for men who like looking at sexy women, and it's just like the way that all went down was just so funny, and it was like super relevant too, because like I think around the time they made those episodes, there was a new company popped up that was like, it's Uber for women, only women drivers can drive and only women can ride. I didn't know that. Wow, stuff like that. Yeah, just because Uber is full of creepy dudes. I mean,
that's a real
people
thing.
know that.
I didn't even know that was a
I've heard so many fucked up stories from my female friends of Uber drivers that just really made them uncomfortable. Some of them would like lock them in the car if they didn't give them their number and stuff. Like, it was bad.
It goes against everything we're taught as kids, right? It's like, don't go with strangers. Don't go with strangers.
Exactly. Yeah.
I get an Uber all the time. I use Uber in my town. Like sometimes for certain things. Like I use Uber a lot, but it's right. It goes against everything that we've been taught. Yeah.
Go figure.
But you do see flaws in Mr. Peanut Butter's attitude, though, right? Like, you see flaws in BoJack's, but you also see flaws in Mr. Peanut Butter's. Mr. Peanut Butter, who doesn't necessarily listen or takes the time and is very in tune with what Diane wants, which is what I think Diane sees in BoJack, is that he takes the time to listen to her and really understand what she's feeling, because he is on that level too. Yeah. He can get deep like that. Mr. Peanut Butter can't. It's really hard for him to. He sees things as flashy, and he sees things as, oh, I love this, so she'll love this, kind of thing. And even with Todd, he agrees with every single one of Todd's ideas, but they're all bad. So it's like he always ends up losing money. He's bankrupt in one episode. His accountant says, like, Mr. Peanut Butter, all these stupid ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when he goes out to get the job. That was the whole thing. So it's interesting, because it's not saying that being a super upbeat, positive person's the right way to go either.
Yeah, exactly. His brother. I think the episode with his brother was a good example too, right? Like, his brother's sick, and he just never talks to him about this sort of thing, right? What Diana was talking to his brother and really just telling Mr. Peanut Butter that there's, you really need to talk to your brother. There's definitely something huge going on. And he was just avoiding it. But eventually he does talk to him, so it gets to that point. But yeah, he's a flawed character too. I mean, there's no perfect characters in the series, but that's an interesting dynamic. How many did both of you guys think that Diane and BoJack, or do you guys still think that Diane and BoJack will end up together?
I feel like that will they won't they has like come and gone. Hopefully, honestly, I'd be disappointed if they keep trying to dangle that carrot in front of the audience. Like, I'm more interested in him and Princess.
Hmm?
Yeah, Princess's like relationship, because it's a lot more convoluted and complex.
It is.
He just like met Diane. She was a ghostwriter. He fell for her. She rejected him. Whereas like him and his manager have like 30 years of history, including a period where they were straight up dating and like living together, you know? And yeah, I also really love the subplot of her dating the 3 kids that were in a trench coat, and BoJack was the only person that knew. That was like,
that's an adult man. That's probably my favorite character.
Yeah, it came to a kind of like a boiling point of just like, okay, this is getting ridiculous when he comes over to her house and he's doing like this swapping thing, and I was like, okay, this stop being funny. But like before that, it was fucking great, and I loved it.
Yeah, the swapping thing got a little much, but I do like everything that Vincent Adultman says, and
he works at the business factory.
That's what I was just about to say. And that's where Mr. Peanut Butter and Todd go to get all their ideas looked at. Did you realize they do a scene where they walk? He's like, I've got a friend that can look over this business proposal and tell us if it's going to be good or not. And they'll walk in there with like whatever crazy idea, toast that shoots at you or something. And like Vincent Adultman will be in an office and he'll go, yep, this looks like a business. And they're like, let's do it. They treat him like a real person. Like everybody except for BoJack, who's the only person who can see this. I never understood that, but it always made me laugh. Like it's like, where have you been, Vincent? Oh, I was at the business factory. I did a business. It's like that's how. Like,
oh, Vincent, you're so mature.
Yeah, he's always working. He's always working.
Adult things. I'm doing adult things.
Princess
I am an adult.
I'm sorry.
The one episode that made me like laugh out loud the most was the chicken episode. Just all the gags they came up with, the baga sound effect, just like, book back. No time to book back right now.
Book back right now. Baga? It's like yes, her name's Becca.
Yeah, it's Becca.
Yeah, but that's what I was talking about with the writing. You could tell whoever writes it has fun with it.
Oh,
like,
God,
it's
crazy.
It's like how many words or phrases can we come up with that sounds like a chicken?
yeah.
Baca? It's like, oh yeah, your name's Becca. Book what? Like that is like book back. No, I'm not gonna book back. They do like a bunch of these, and it all works out. And you're just sitting there going like, God, the wordplay. It's just like fencing in there. It's just like constant.
Yeah.
It just comes at you rapid fire. Man, there's this question that's been like burning inside me, and I can't remember it. I know it's been bothering me this whole show since back when I mentioned I couldn't. When you can't remember something, it just gets at you and you're just constantly thinking about it. That's where I'm at right now. Where do you so as far as Diane and BoJack Horseman go, there's 2 ways this show can go, right? There's only 2 ways. BoJack has redemption, or BoJack falls into obscurity somehow and it really fucks things up to a way where he can't rebound. Okay, there's only 2 directions. The end of season 3 makes me think that he's going to have the redemption story. And what I think is, if that redemption story does take place and BoJack is able to overcome many of his flaws, or even some of his major flaws, I think if some of those flaws are the ones that keep Diane from being depressed, like if he can get over that stuff, I think he's got a shot with Diane. Now, do I want him to be with Diane? I don't know. But I do think the show is keeping that open, because Diane connects with BoJack on a totally different level that Mr. Peanut Butter isn't able to comprehend. Like, he can't get there. You know, like, he's just a dog. He's a golden retriever. He's happy-go-lucky, all the things we talked about. But BoJack can. But what happens is that BoJack can't get to where Mr. Peanut Butter is, because Mr. Peanut Butter brings that happiness and that positivity into Diane's life, and I think that she likes that and how agreeable he is. So if BoJack can somehow fill that role and not be miserable to be around and uplift Diane while still being serious with her, I think they're a really good match. But as it is, nobody's a good match for BoJack, because BoJack's not a good match for BoJack. So it doesn't matter who's with him. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. It's like the age-old thing where it's like, if you're not happy with yourself, you can't make anyone else happy. Which is prevalent in this, Fire and Light. But him looking at the horses as they're galloping off at the end of season 3, it's like seeing a horse and a bunch of horses act like horses out in nature, running together in the desert and stuff like that.
Free of the shackles of normal life.
Yes, free of the shackles of normal life, just out there hitting it, running, doing what horses do. And he always talks about how he always feels like he's going in circles. And these people are running straight forward. They're just all focused. They're moving forward into the future. And I think this is going to be where we start to see BoJack kind of inspired by that and turn around. That's what I left season 3 feeling. Is that what you guys felt?
Yeah, I mean, that scene is really powerful. Especially, God, they did so good. I mean, they had that Nina Simone song too. It was actually a really, really good scene. So I think that what he's going to do is just going to get back to the basics, you know what I mean? Just to really break it down. I don't know if he's going to take like a super long break from everybody, kind of like what he did in Santa Fe, but just like not be in contact with anybody, and maybe when they come back to season 4, he's already taken this long break and he's like a completely different person. And I feel like, with just kind of answering my own question with the Diane thing, I think he will end up with Diane, because I think that's how they're going to make Mr. Peanut Butter end up kind of flipping, like I think Diane might be the element that actually makes him not a positive, like he falls into a weird thing.
Don't say it.
I know, but that's what I'm thinking.
I want to see is that, what if they flip? What if by the end of the season, Mr. Peanut Butter's terrible and BoJack?
Well, I don't think BoJack will ever be that character. Okay, but I think that might be like how they end up developing Mr. Peanut Butter, which I don't know is a good bad thing, but I could see that storyline going that direction. But yeah, with BoJack, I just think him falling even more into what we've already seen wouldn't be that interesting. Just seeing another season of that. So yeah, I think he'll come back, and he'll come back in a very fresh kind of manner. The question is whether he'll end up just falling again because of some kind of big moment that doesn't work for him. Like whether it's not winning an Oscar, or something that like literally he's been investing all of his time into, like almost the entire season, right? And then something doesn't happen for him. Will he kind of fall back into it?
Just to add on to what you're saying too about Mr. Peanut Butter and stuff and Diane, at the end of season 3, Mr. Peanut Butter is approached by his ex-wife to be mayor.
Oh,
remember,
that's right. Yeah,
at the end?
Yeah.
That is
governor.
Governor. Sorry, governor.
I forgot about
governor.
That, actually.
Yeah, and so Diane, right now, Mr. Peanut Butter, all he does besides his work is sit at home and wait for Diane. That's all he does. He talks about it one episode. He's like, you know what I do when you're gone? I sit right here on this couch. He's like, sometimes I try to dig in it, and like a dog.
That's what I mean. Like, he's all in on her, right?
But he just lives, or his life circles around his master Diane. It's a dog, like that's what his whole life is around Diane. So when he goes for governor, and throwing in the fact that his ex-wife is the one that's coming and asking him to be governor, I think that's going to pose a whole bunch of really deep, terrible questions for his and Diane's relationship at a point where BoJack is emerging. Where he's becoming this better self. I can see it going in that direction very easily. But even Mr. Peanut Butter says, he's like, and it's so real. I love this sentence so much. He's like, we are like 4 or 5 big fights away from really splitting. So I really need this to work. It was the skunk episode. It's like, have you ever been in that place in your relationship where you know everything's super tense and it's really bad, and it's true, it's like 4 or 5 more big fights and we're gonna really be dealing with shit. Like, he's like, I really want this to work, because he's just scared of fighting with Diane so much at that point that he thinks it's gonna end it.
But see, that's the awesome part. I mean, that's like there are so many things that are just relatable, you know what I mean, with a lot of these characters. That's what's so awesome about this. It's like, it's not just completely a parody. There are so many things that are just like, oh my god, yeah, that kind of resonates with you in a weird way. And sometimes it's like, why does this even resonate with me? This is weird, man. So
yeah, it's different
so good.
too, because I like the show in a way that maybe not a lot of people would really understand it, and I might sound a little egotistical here. Not that I would consider myself or compare myself to the level of fame that BoJack Horseman has in the show, but in our very niche community, I have some level of fame, and I've seen the things that BoJack goes through on much smaller scales. So it's not like I'm dealing with like $1 million deals or anything, but I'm dealing with deals in the thousands, you know, like you can see this sort of emerging celebrity on Twitch, right? And it's very, like, when you watch BoJack conduct himself and do things and how people treat him and how people act around him and everything, I can sense it. I can sense that whoever wrote this really sat down with Will Arnett or somebody else and really got into what it's like to be famous, you know? And again, I'm not saying I'm famous. I'm saying just like on that small scale, I can see how people treat you different. I can see how this happens or somebody tries to get you in trouble in the public eye. They want you to mess up, you know, and I, you know, saying something will make it worse. But if you don't say anything, it's still bad, you know, like these positions and these people, and my manager, you know, like I can see my manager being Princess Caroline being, you know, I got you this gig. I don't feel like doing it. What? How can't you do this? I've been working on it. You know, like that.
It's so easy. Just do it.
Yeah, it's so easy. Just do it. You know, and anyways, I see that they stay true to that as well, because I can relate on a smaller scale with a lot of the things, the pressures and all that stuff that come along with that. Diction, do you see that? Like, agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
extrapolations on that.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Well, good.
I concur, sir.
I don't need anything else out of you. Diction's here just to agree.
No, it is here to be a pretty face.
It's a portion of the show and a part of the show that I think some people may not resonate with, because it's something not, you know, somebody who's living, you know, quote unquote a normal life would deal with, you know. But you also see that ego too. And you see that in a lot of Twitch people too, is that these emerging egos and stuff. You know, like, this is the beginning of horsing around. Like, who are we going to see like 30 years from now? Like, what kind of person are they going to be, you know, 20, 30 years from now?
I already feel kind of washed up on Twitch, so maybe I'm BoJack.
You're BoJack. You haven't shined yet. You're not BoJack.
I peaked like 3 years ago, so now I just got to get like a Todd character living on my couch.
we'll be competing for that space, Diction. Okay, I'll be living in Co's house. What's going? I'm just laying on your couch. Ellohime, what are you doing here? Oh, I was just sleeping on your couch. You know, it's like
eating pizza.
Lena's like, please get him out of here. But I'll just get into zany misadventures, and then they'll love me for it. That's how I plan to live out the rest of my years, is as Co's house cat. That's pretty much. I'm gonna have one day I'll even have my own emote on Co's channel.
One day.
Oh man.
But it's a show that has a lot of dynamics, and that's what I wanted you guys to see. Was it's got a lot going for it, as opposed to your first initial reaction, which is this is a Family Guy thing, which I think is easy to do. And I think it may not be totally inaccurate in the first several episodes either. But as it develops, you start to see, like I said, a very serious narrative that deal with very serious issues.
Yeah.
And you'll see it as a theme. I like darker, grittier things. I say it almost every week.
Dark comedy is comedy.
Yeah. And that's honestly how I feel. If you really want to resonate with me, the dark, gritty stuff, especially when it comes to comedy, really shines, and I enjoy it a lot.
So just to remind you guys, we want you guys to join in our discussion today too. So you know, hop on the call with us. You can do so by joining this Discord channel and talking to Monkey Overlord.
Get on up in
He'll
here.
get you set up. If not, if you're too, if you're shy and you don't want to actually hop on here, but you do want to still partake in our discussion, feel free to just, write a question in Twitch chat or tweet one of us right now, and we'll answer whatever you guys ask. But it's always fun having you guys on here, because the last few times we've had callers, it's just been like, wow, they've blown our minds,
Yeah, Monkey said some crazy stuff about Kubo. Last time that went like all of us went like, oh, not that you have to have these big revelations. But it's
good to get a different perspective, just outside of the three of us.
Perspective, yeah, because a lot of us kind of approach this the same way. Was there anything else about the show specifically that you guys wanted to talk about, that you guys thought was important or whatever?
Well, maybe not important, but Diane, I mean, the fact that
you really like Diane
outside no outside of the fact that they say she's Asian, there is is there any reason she's Asian? I mean, seriously.
Well, because if she
she doesn't look Asian.
If she was white, they would have been sued because it's too close to Daria.
Yeah. Oh my god!
she has to make a
joke about her looking like Daria.
I know she's an Asian Daria. That's the best example, or that summed her up the best, man. Her being an Asian Daria. But yeah, they go over to her house and none of those people look Asian at all. They all have a Boston accent. It's just what? This is kind of I mean, maybe that's the joke, and I'm just missing it or whatnot.
If there was a point to it, maybe there was, but I couldn't think of a point. The only thing I love about her family is when BoJack's like, oh, so you're the black sheep, and she's like, no, that's Terry. And when they go there's an actual black sheep.
Yeah. That's true.
The brother is a black sheep, so she's like, no, I'm not the black sheep in the family.
Yeah,
that's Terry, he's the black sheep. It's
yeah, I thought I was just missing something there, because I'm I don't even understand that, but it's just a little thing that's always been in the back of my head.
I love her hypocrisies too, and the way they point them out, occasionally, especially when she gets high strung, when she's at the diner and she gets the glass of water, and then she complains about getting the glass of water because she didn't ask for the glass of water, and it's illegal to do it. So she makes a big scene, and in the end, she drinks the glass of water. And her friend is sitting there with her the whole time, totally uncomfortable, as she rants on and on about this water, and everyone's telling her to shut up, because and that's the way Diane, technically she's right, and she should say something, because it is illegal, and there is a water shortage in Hollywood, as it is Hollywood. But at the end, she's not willing necessarily to take the full stand. She sees things as compartmentalized, this was wrong, but I'm allowed to drink this because I am thirsty, right. So I'm not wrong. She follows her own rule set, and sometimes that can make her appear as a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And I think there's other examples of this that happen in the show. She'll say stuff to BoJack, and then she'll get in a thing with Mr. Peanut Butter, and you could literally throw the same advice right back at her.
Yeah.
For certain things.
How fun?
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, how funny is it that she's, a very established and successful shadow writer, and she ends up becoming a social media person.
Yeah. She fucks it up.
And she fucks it up.
The abortion thing on that that pop star's Twitter account.
Oh, that was crazy too.
That whole was pretty.
That was pushing it too.
That was ham-fisted, man. I didn't like that episode, because it's okay, we get where you fall in. Pro-choice. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. We get it, man. But what was the point of that episode, of her getting pregnant in that whole episode? What was the point? Did that add to the narrative, or was that just them going in and saying pro-choice? I felt like it was more of a statement about
an agenda,
an agenda episode, than it was more of a narrative, and I didn't like that very much. You guys feel the same way in that episode?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, she has that kind of feminist character too, and I think it kind of. I mean, I liked what they did with the whatever her name was, like Christina Aguilera, whatever, whatever.
Sextina
Aquafina. Yeah, Sextina Aquafina.
14-year-old Sextina
Yeah.
Aquafina.
I liked what they did with that. That was hilarious. But yeah, the stuff with Diane was just kind of okay. I guess it's just another thing just to really push the envelope, with talking about just pro-choice or abortions and whatnot.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think about the joke that we haven't even talked about? The owl chick, I forget her name. Lisa Kudrow is the voice.
Oh,
she's the owl that was
in a coma for 30 years.
A coma for 30 years, and then BoJack ends up dating her because he's stuck 30 years in the past too.
Oh, that girl. Yeah. Okay.
Wanda.
That's right.
Yeah, I love her character.
She was great.
Thought she was the funniest thing because she's so aloof. And again, aloof. Everyone's aloof.
Yeah,
she really is though. But I guess it's not aloofness. I guess it's just she's been gone for 30 years. She's like, what if we had a show where people came out and danced with stars, but dancing guys judged them, and we'll call it, like stars with the dancing.
The title kept getting longer and longer as the show was being produced, which I thought was fucking great. And then didn't it just end up being?
Oh, you're talking about the game show, right?
Mr. Buttercup's like do you know more than Mr. Buttercup? Where he would just ask personal questions about himself. And you have to know. Like you'd have to be
Buttercup. Yeah, no. It's like Holly. Okay, I think I remember it. Hollywood stars and celebrities. What do they know? Do they know stuff? Let's find out.
Yeah.
That's what the whole show is called. That's the entire title of the show. Yeah, I love that. I love how ridiculous that show is too. How they do a whole episode on it, and how BoJack just fucks with them. He wins the $1 million. He could win the $1 million for charity, but just because Daniel Radcliffe was a dick to him, he decided to throw it in his face. Yeah. He's like, name the actor that's like standing right next to you. He's like, oh, I can't remember. I meet so many people being.
Are you serious? It's for charity.
He's like, really, man? It's for charity. It's $1 million. He's like, I'm gonna go with Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood. That was
Elijah
the best.
Wood,
Oh my god, that was so funny.
And like the episode ends with the money going down and blowing up in flame, and everyone's like, "What?" And it just ends like that. I love how pure he is about getting back at people, like how like sharp it is and like full of vim. Like you hurt me, so I'm gonna. I don't care if children starve in another country. I'm gonna get you for this, like publicly.
All right, so let me see if we got a couple. We have a couple guys in the channel now. Let me see, monkeys.
Yeah, let's get some peoples in here.
Yeah, and a lot of people like BoJack. So, I mean, people were like tweeting me about last week about like, oh, I wanted you guys to talk about it so much. So there's got to be some. There's got to be a lot of folks that want to talk here. Oh, not yet. All right. We're waiting. Anybody have any questions or anything? Like they just want to.
Yeah, if you guys want to throw
anything, guys. Chat. Yeah, anything in chat or tweet one of us.
I don't know. Season 4, I feel like is gonna be really good. I wonder how many seasons it's like on for. Like I don't even know if like number 4 is supposed to be the last one or if it's supposed to be 5 or 6 seasons. Because like
let's Google it.
Yeah,
let's Google it.
I think it might be just a season to season type of thing. I don't know if they've written an end or anything like that.
I think that they do typically write a season, but they've got to
have
a Netflix
like series. So there probably is an end. Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't know. They've drug out Orange is the New Black.
Okay, so let's hypotheticalize. If they do write an end, I mean, does BoJack like kill himself or something? I mean, what is the end?
Like I said, there's only 2 different endings.
I mean, it's
either redemption story or story of ultimate defeat. It can only go one of 2 ways now. Now, how they go about it is totally up for discussion, but I don't know. I feel like he might go spend some time with that hamster guy, that gerbil guy that he did the BoJack show. And I love the fourth wall meta jokes they talk about, where in the show they're making the BoJack Horseman show, but when they talk about the BoJack Horseman show, they're really talking about their show.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, nobody liked the BoJack Horseman show. Had too many fourth wall meta jokes in it. And it's like just that joke in itself is a fourth wall meta joke.
Right.
And it's like, wait a second, what? But you know how they find him, like him and Diane go to spend time with him, and they're like, aren't you being really selfish about getting out here and not being there for people and blah blah. And he's like, I'm not gonna apologize. I'm finally happy for the first time in my life. Like, I have no regrets. Like, I am at peace. And then they leave, and Diane's like, he's crazy, right? Like, it's almost like a question, like, does he actually have it figured out, or is he crazy? And I think BoJack might go reconnect with him, maybe, I don't know, and spend some time with him, maybe like a mentor thing. That might be the revelation that you know, he might come back for, you know, starting season 4, having just spent time with that dude, or, you know, he might spend the next episode with him or something. I think that character may be revisited.
Okay.
It's kind of a spiritual guru.
All right, looks like we have one person. We have Psycho. Psycho's going to join us here. I'll give him like a few seconds to actually hear it on the stream first, and then I'll pull him in. don't like surprising these guys every time. All right, you're on the show. Whoa, shoot. Okay. Okay. All right, here we go.
Hey, guys.
All right, Psycho. Hey, Psycho, you there?
Psycho.
Yeah, I'm here. I got pulled in here before I was ready.
Oh man, see, that's what I mean. We gotta figure out how to do this right, like so that you're like prepared and stuff. Maybe I need to message you next time. Jeez, sorry about that.
I like it. I like it the way it is. Let's just pull him.
Just pull him in. Surprise! You're
like a baby being born.
You've won the Price is Right.
Well, I'm only the baby being born so long as I'm coming out of Diction, because Ellohime, you got to be the daddy here. 'Cause Diction's totally the mom.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh!
Apparently we're seahorses, and Diction is my lover,
the girl
and my woman.
I guess I'm just like the Asian uncle that doesn't look Asian or has a Boston accent.
I want to stereotype you so much by saying that you're wise and like you know kung fu.
I'm wise and I'm kung fu. I've been
Like,
walking the earth.
I'm the man. Diction's the female, and you are a wise kung fu master.
That's right.
It's a great show.
That sounds awesome to me, man. That sounds completely awesome.
We'll call it Channing Around.
All right, Psycho.
And then, like in season 3, we'll have Channing Tatum on as like an inside joke.
Exactly.
Well, we shouldn't call it spoiler abort.
Come
on, it's wordplay. It's dark.
Wow. Report. All right, Psycho.
Anyway.
Hey, do you wanna add something?
Oh, yeah, sure. All right, so first off, Ellohime, that was a hilarious joke as far as I'm concerned, because I enjoy that effed up humor. And then my main concern, or not concern, but question, what I wanted to bring to the table is, why does Diane need to not fit a stereotype to be an Asian character representative? Like, you're mentioning that she has a Boston accent is something bad. I don't see that as something bad. And then also her progression as like a character coming from somebody who actually had legitimate intellect, but then as she gained more credibility, she didn't know what to do with it and just became a stereotypical social justice warrior.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chanmanv.
All right, let me answer the first one. All right, so
because you've been attacked.
Yeah, exactly.
Fire!
No. So the reason I brought that up was just because I thought I might have just missed some joke, you know, because the reason I brought up the whole Asian thing is like I just don't think it has like there's any reason why she's like an Asian character. Like there's
maybe that's the point. Like she's Asian, so what? That's
I guess okay.
Like,
I mean that's the only reason I brought it up. It's not like I'm saying that she's being portrayed wrong or anything because she's Asian or they're portraying Asians in a bad light or anything like that. I just didn't really get the joke. I guess that was the main thing.
I think you're just questioning the point of it.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of her being Asian? Because every character, you know, especially in this show, where it's not just is the character black, white, Asian, you know, Hispanic.
There's like a joke.
They can be different animals. Like there's so many.
Right.
I mean, there's so many different varieties of people. Why that they could have gone with. Like they went with a cat for Princess Carolyn, you know, like why? I think it's fair to ask why do they have Diane as an Asian woman when they could have had free reign to pick whatever they wanted to out of all animals and you know types of people. But I think Diction's right. I think you know I think it's kind of a so what. I think it's supposed to be there to just go. She's Asian, you know, but she doesn't fall on it, you know, like it doesn't matter. But about her becoming a social justice warrior, for me, it was more of a commentary on social justice warriors and how they hold people back mentally and intellectually. And that is a very opinionated thing. You know, a lot of social justice warriors that are watching this, you know, they're probably going to start with the pitchforks and stuff. But at the same time, I see what I see is that some social justice warriors do get a little bit too into what they're doing, and it holds them back from either the bigger picture or from their own potential sometimes. And I think that it's just a commentary on that. That's how I took that. Now, is that what the writers were inferring? I have no idea. That's how I took it, though, is that she's allowed herself to get so mixed up in her head that she's been reduced to this, you know, somehow. Which is a fine job being a social media person, but coming from a background where she's got, you know, 2 very important hit books. Secretariat was her first book, and then the BoJack Horseman story, you know.
Well, she went to go, you know, just endeavor on just going fully down that route of you know, following, I forgot what the character was, but the person that was in the other country, and he was saving
Yeah.
and he ended up becoming he was like a complete fraud, right? And that really rocked her to the point where she came back, and that's where that whole hiatus came, right? And her being lost after that. So that was an interesting dynamic there too. We didn't even talk about that part.
Yeah, we didn't. And you know, her feeling like she could cut it and she couldn't. The kid died that she had that connection with.
Yeah.
You know, and the guy walks up and is like, "Don't make a connection with these kids.
Exactly.
Like, don't talk to these kids. You know, they could be gone tomorrow." is what and the kid was, and it fucked her up, but she couldn't hack it. She had to come back. And I think that hurt her and debilitated her also, which led to her being unemployed, which made her feel like she had to take the job that Princess Carolyn was offering her as the social media person. But what do you think, Psycho?
Honestly, I just feel that same thing that happens with most social justice warriors. They come from a place of goodness, and then when they get too much credibility or they just don't have to answer to what they need to say, they start blowing it way out of proportion, or the proper word for that I can't think of off the top of my head. And the reason for the abortion episode, which you guys were talking about, was honestly to exemplify that and blow and just put her in her place a lot, and then also hopefully in theory call to question some of the keyboard activists that come around and whatnot, and have them think about stuff from another perspective as opposed to that. Then you guys brought up how the dude doing things for the kids and whatnot, that jaguar or whatever the candy corn that animal is. Why does he have to be a phony as far as you guys are concerned? Because he actually is out there doing stuff. But I do understand where you're coming from with where he's like just doing it. A lot of it is for fame to get his name out there and whatnot. But kind of have to do that in order to fund your campaigns and doing stuff like that. And I think Diane definitely did create too much of a hero form of that, not understanding how the business of that aspect works. So of trying to do actual donations and the like.
Well, you know, but you know, there's a line there too. The guy was having a statue of himself built in that country. Like, I understand, but if Bono, you know, went over and, you know, he does a lot of charity work, but if Bono was erecting statues of himself in these cities or countries or villages or wherever he's helping out, I think would be like, wow, this is an egomaniac. There's definitely that line. It's what gives credit to the depth of this is what he's doing actually wrong, because it does increase exposure. You know, it does help out with the problem overall just by having an ego. It's maybe and being detached from these people. Maybe he's the best man for the job to get stuff done, because you kind of have to have that, because if you do attach yourselves to these kids, then you're going to be screwed up and then you're going to have to be sent back home. So the argument, I guess, is kind of, I don't know if it's more ethical or whatever. You know, it's a conundrum for sure. You know, is his character a bad character because that's the way that he conducts himself in order to get things done? Or is it a good character because he conducts himself in the way he does to get things done? You know, it's like, I mean, it can really fall either way. And I think I could make an argument for either. But I think at the erecting statues of yourself, I think that's where Diane, I think in that scene specifically is where Diane thought, this guy isn't here for pure reasons to help anybody. He's here for himself. He constantly talks about himself. he's all about himself. And while that is a means to an end that may be positive, Diane, I feel like, looks for the real in things. She constantly questions. She constantly mulls over every little thing in her head about what could be offensive or what could be this or that or whatever. So of course she's going to get really in depth about what she's seeing, what she's, and she needs to, because she's writing about this. You know, her feelings need to be valid. Her feelings need to be fluid and conscious. And I think that's why people like her writing. I think that's why she's so good at writing. But I think in this instance, she just felt he was just too egotistical. Like it just was too much against her, you know. So, and maybe even that if she wrote this book, it would ultimately hurt these kids. You know, like if she wrote a book about how egotistical this guy was and how shitty this guy was, and she went on to sell it, she's already sold 2 bestsellers. If she sold this and exposed him as this like egomaniac, it could end up hurting the kids and the work that he's doing, regardless of whatever reason. Right. So there's a lot that goes into that.
And that's what she does, right? She always writes. I mean, look what she did to BoJack, right? And BoJack was upset about the biography she ended up writing for him because it was so honest. And I mean, I think that's the only way she can write, as a shadow writer, is just being completely honest. And she just was very disappointed, right? Because that's not what she went out there to do, or at least that's not the impression of the guy that she had. And it's not necessarily that, you know, it's so wrong. I mean, we can debate whether it's just wrong or right. You know, when there's a lot of instances where an organization or a company or whatnot that a lot of us don't agree with, like, you know, maybe what they do, and ends up putting money into some charity or putting money into some place that actually does do generally good for society or good for an industry or whatnot. I mean, something that comes to mind is like, you know, there's this whole giant debate, right, in just gaming about companies like G2A and stuff, right? Like people, at least in esports, all these people, you know, obviously don't agree with what they do, or at least, you know, in terms of just the game keys and how that affects developers and whatnot. But at the same time, they put a ton of money into our industry and help fund things that actually are productive for the industry. So that's obviously a separate debate, but that's not really, you know, doesn't really dive into why, you know, I guess Diane and why she is affected by this entire thing and why she doesn't do it, you know, or how she perceived that whole thing and ends up, you know, deciding that, you know, this guy isn't what she thought he was, and she doesn't want to basically continue writing this book about him.
Psycho, did you enjoy the show? I wish I could watch the show through your eyes. You seem like a very opinionated person. I'm curious as to how much you enjoyed the show throughout.
I honestly have a lot of mixed feelings about the show because I enjoy it, but it's one of those things I love to hate while I'm watching it because BoJack Horseman is just a douchebag without a doubt, but that's part of the reason why I enjoy watching it to a degree because I get to see all these actual good people around him and how they bounce back and forth and influence each other. But I'm going to go ahead and roll it back a little bit back to the Diane thing because I don't have a good segue for it. But do you think part of the reason why she needed to go on that hiatus is because she thought she was going to just basically become that Jaguar and not if she kept on going on for like the path of justice and whatnot because she saw somebody that she believed was a legitimately good influence for helping people and whatnot, but then she spiraled out of control because she saw he was very egotistical and she didn't want to become that herself. But then because she no longer had a proper outlet for her opinions and her beliefs, that she just became that activist that yells at the waitress for giving them water.
Yeah, again, I think that trip affected her in the show more than anything else, obviously. And I think that there were multiple reasons why that all went down. And I do believe that has led her to having some confusion about, you know, like I think she ends up apologizing to BoJack afterwards for writing the book. Like I think she does end up, you know, where she had stayed by her writing and always said, "I'm not apologizing for it. This was good for you." You know, always she apologizes to him. So this has obviously opened her up for a whole bunch of questioning. And when Diane starts to question what's already confusing Diane head, you know, like it only becomes more convoluted, which leads her to staying a month at BoJack's and just chilling out. I can see it contributing to it, sure. I don't know if that was the sole reason, but I can see it probably being the biggest reason. So Yeah, and I agree with you about the show, like watching it to see, because I think it's relatable, because I think all of us, I think by at least our age, I think that we can think of somebody who we've had to cut loose, like a friend that we realized this person was bad for us. And whether or not we love this person or not, whether it's a relationship with that person or, just a friendship or whatever, I think that all of us have come to a point where we go, all right, this is just too toxic for us and we have to cut ties. And sometimes that can fuck with our ideology, and it can, especially in relationships. So I think that her searching and questioning and everything is totally normal. And I think that that's the relatable part of it in many ways, is because we know BoJacks. We all know a BoJack. And some of us have cut ties with our BoJack.
You're a BoJack.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is that, like, and when you think about Secretariat, and he wants to pick the one where it's a mirror and says, "You are Secretariat," it's like the show kind of telling you, like, hey, we all got a little BoJack in us, right? We're somebody else's BoJack, and we know BoJacks ourselves. Like,
yeah.
And that relatability, I think, is probably what draws you into it. He's a douchebag and he's funny, but he's charismatic as shit, and he's fun to be around in certain places, and ultimately poison. It's kind of a thing. So, and we can be that to other people, which is another commentary.
And it's like our own ego, we don't even realize it.
It's true.
It's true. I'm not even joking. It's actually true.
Everyone considers themselves, for the most part, to be a good person, right? But I could line you up. I could fill a room. I could fill a house. Maybe even at this point, a stadium of people that don't like me. Like, that just don't like me.
Yeah, but it's not about people that don't like you. It's about people that do like you, but they don't think that you're a good influence on. Like that's what I'm talking about. It's like there's probably some people that actually think, you or me are not good influences for them, and we just don't realize it because of our own ego.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Well, thanks.
All right, Psycho. Yeah, thanks for that, man.
Yeah. That was great.
It's good stuff. That's why we like to have people on here. This is good stuff.
Get into the nitty-gritty.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
You too, man.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
we got
it's interesting. He came in. I wonder what Milo would have to say.
Oh my
about
gosh!
all
Yeah,
this.
seriously.
I
Right?
want to hear what Milo has to say
Milo
about BoJack Horseman. Milo's become like my little secret savior, and I like watch him.
Oh really?
He's like
God.
my guilty pleasure. It's like I listen to the things.
That'd be
he
like
says,
me
and I'm
having
like,
Richard
oh.
on here one of these days, man. Richard.
Yeah.
All right. So Beardicus wants to join too, so I'm gonna pull Beardicus.
Yeah,
in.
let's
I
do
gave
it.
him a little heads up, so let's see if we surprise him. Surprise!
You're on our show. Go now.
Beardicus.
Oh god, you're scaring me. No. Hey guys, thanks for having me. I love all of you.
Oh, awesome, man! Thanks
Every
for
single one of
joining.
you.
So,
BoJack. Awesome.
Go on. Go on.
Okay.
Tell me how much you love
Say
him.
more nice things about us.
yeah,
Oh.
more.
I love your follicles.
Ooh,
My follicles.
interesting.
I'm losing some of those follicles, man.
You'll be an honorary bearded companion. It's all right.
Okay.
So what's up, man?
Not much. Was just sitting here, dicking around with things, and I saw you guys started broadcasting. You're talking about BoJack Horseman of all things, so decided I might as well come in here and see if I could perhaps entertain the audience a bit. Talk a bit about BoJack himself as a character and how much of a piece of shit he is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Yes. Let's do it.
All right, so it's a little bit backstory. I got into this maybe 3 months ago. A good friend of mine was like, "Hey, you really like these adult anime shows?" Also, dogs freaking out in the background. Sorry.
Can't hear it.
Mr. Peanut Butter. Dang it.
But basically, he was like, you're into these adult animated shows. I think you'd enjoy this. I was like, yeah, I'll watch it. I ended up binging the first 2 seasons. So, I got into it, and
Was that
What?
before the 3rd season came out, or did you?
I think it was just before the 3rd season came out.
Okay, so you binged all there was to binge at the time.
Yeah, and then I watched season 3 as soon as it came out.
Okay.
I got into it, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty all right. I was afraid it was going to be a bit generic, and I didn't know how to feel about it.
Right.
And then I saw BoJack, who is literally the most toxic person to anyone around him ever. And just how awful he is. I mean, it's... At first, you're like, oh, he's just the generic asshole character, we're going to follow him around. But as you go into it, you see him as, this person who's who's injured seriously on the inside, and he's suffered through so much, and he's essentially lost the will to live. No matter what he does, he's not happy anymore.
Yeah, and that's a tough position to be in when you feel like you can't be happy and you have every reason to be happy, and you're just not. You're just not, and you don't know why, and you're broken, and how frustrating and futile that can feel. Do you have any sympathy towards him, like because of his parents, or do you feel like at 50 you should have your shit cleaned up to the point where you're not ruining people's lives?
I can sympathize with him because he should be happy, considering, you know, he was famous, he got on a TV show, he has all this money, he lives in a great place, has all these people around him that should make him happy, but it doesn't. And no matter what he does, no matter how many of his resources he throws at his depression, he can't be happy.
He's his own worst enemy.
Yeah, I mean, it's
he
one of
has
those
all the capacity to live a happy life, but he rejects it. He gets annoyed by people around him. He pines after women that are not interested, and I mean, pardon the pun, but he's got horse blinders on. Like all he sees is like what's in front of him and not what's actually around him.
Yeah, and he sees people get happy, and then he's immediately angry because he can't be happy. He wants their happiness.
Yeah, he desperately does. Chanmanv, go ahead.
I mean, it might be. I think it's one of those things too, which I think is very smart in terms of the writing. You know, when you talk about celebrities, and you know, maybe we've all experienced this to a bit, is that, you know, BoJack in particular, he does get happy. It's just they're in little spurts, you know, like when good things happen.
It's fleeting.
Yeah, it's fleeting. It's not like just a general happiness, or just, you know, being just happy with your life. It's more like, you know, once this little incident happens and it's happy, then it kind of carries you over for a little bit. And then you kind of need like your next fix of something good, right? And, you know, with people like celebrities, I mean, I'm just like, you know, this is just my opinion. You know, I know a lot of celebrities, they go through these kind of these really moments where it's just like everything's just great, and, you know, like they're like the stars of the moment, or they're on a hit TV show, or they're in a hit movie, and things are going great. But then it's just like, then there's the times where you don't have a job, you know, and you kind of go through those moments, and if you are generally you know, a centered person, or a happy person, or happy with your life, then you'll be fine during those times, right? You'll figure something out. But if you're not, then you just you need these things to continually, these new things, or these good things to continually happen, or you just fall into that type of, you know, BoJack depression. And I think that mimics life in a lot of ways. I mean, we see a lot of celebrities that, you know, they end up taking their lives, right? And it doesn't happen more times than not, thankfully, but you do see these people, and it usually comes down to people being depressed, and maybe like being addicted to the highs that they have whenever they are having just awesome moments in life, or in their career, and they don't know how to deal with just your, you know, I guess your mediocre life, or your mediocre times during your life.
It's hard because you don't want to have sympathy for him because he's 50 years old, and you're like, okay, by 50 you should probably figure out. But at the same time, if there was ever a character thrown into a situation, a hopeless situation, you know, besides like Spartan babies being tossed off a cliff and never given a chance, like besides that, if there was ever a hopeless situation, it's big BoJack Horseman, the fucked up childhood that he had, and then throw him into stardom. Like it's not just even a normal regular person going into what's already a fucked up situation that would fuck up a normal person. This is an already damaged, broken person walking into an already even more damaged, broken system. So it's tough to judge him so hard because the guy never fucking had a chance. He never had a chance between his parents, and then and the whole, you know, the whole I'm gonna call Lindsay Lohan. What's her name? Shit, there's so many people, I'm having a hard time keeping up with the names.
A child star?
You know, like her child's stardom, and how that changed her, and how prevalent drugs were just around her. Like she's like can I hang out with you
kinda
this
thing.
weekend?
Yeah. Mhm.
And then the guy, like these executives walk in, they're like, is the Coke anywhere? Is the Coke? Seriously, there's no Coke here. You know, like that kind of thing. It's like, how can you be around that environment and come out, one, normal, and two, not depressed and hating yourself? You know, like he's walking into a situation that is fueled by drugs, you know, which he's gotten into every single one of them, and he's a horse, so he needs more than everybody else, you know. And it's just like it creates a sympathetic figure. Again, the Tony Soprano thing. You watch through all Sopranos, and Tony does the most heinous things to people, even people he loves. You know, Carmela, and he kills people. It doesn't, but you still have this sympathy for him somewhere down deep, because it shows how he was brought up. It shows the things he's been through, the situations, the hard choices he's had to make, you know. And that way, I think, is what makes BoJack an interesting character, because he is a dick, he is flawed, he is horrible, he burns everything to the ground, but at the end of the day, you know, was there any other choice, really, you know, for him? And maybe there is, and maybe that's what we'll learn in season 4. But for me, I always go back to that sympathy, and I question whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point there, though. There's just one scene in particular that makes you wonder if, like, celebrity is really the basis of what, you know, what has led. I mean, the major part, not just his upbringing. His upbringing, they keep going back to it, so obviously that's a big part too. But you remember the scene where they have him and the original partner for Horsing Around? I forget his name, the cancer guy. I forget his name, the guy that died of cancer.
Wait, who is it?
The original
Kazaz.
Shelby. Yeah, Shelby.
No. His something Kazaz.
Yeah,
Herb Kazaz.
Yeah,
Herb Kazaz.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I thought Shelby.
So you remember when he and Herb, they show that scene where they're both in the comedy club, and, you know, Herb's like, you know, the better comedian, and you know, BoJack's this, you know, like, you're doing a great job, man. You know, it's like, you know, and he's an up and coming comedian, right? And this is all pre-Horsing Around. And you know, BoJack, you know, that character there, I mean, that was a very, you know, a very humble BoJack, and, you know, a BoJack that's, you know, didn't have any ego, at least in that scene. And it wasn't until they started Horsing Around, they started together, and they were just, you know, very excited about it. And it wasn't to the point where he screwed Herb, you know, or he, you know, didn't really screw her, but he, you know, he definitely made a decision that was better for himself, you know, in terms of that, you know, where the producer was there or whatnot. I feel like that was like a very, you know, game-changing moment for BoJack. Like, it kind of let him down to more of an egotistical route where he couldn't come back. But before that, when they showed a humble BoJack, I mean, he seemed like he might have been heading down a different path. I mean, it was very short, but you could maybe see him heading down a different path if he didn't have, like, an enormous success right off the bat.
The stardom is what the tipping point.
The stardom, as well as the decisions you have to make.
He might have ended up being a totally normal, totally functional.
Not just that, but making the decisions you have to make in terms of, you know, like, he screwed a friend, right? And he still feels bad for it. You know, and the guy wouldn't even let him apologize for it. So it was, you know, made him live with it, basically, right? So
yeah, well, that's why your mom always tells you never to horse around, because someone always gets hurt.
I see now.
And on that note,
exactly.
Well, did you have anything else that you wanted to add, Beardicus?
It's just, you know, I was listening to you guys, and let me think about BoJack. Even when he tries his hardest to make amends and to fix things, he always manages to fuck it up somehow.
He does.
Like with Herb, tried his hardest to do everything he could to make things right, and basically told us, fuck you. You had your chance.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's adding more things that are killing him inside. And now the go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's not necessarily fair. It's not like he does what he can to a point, but you'll see his selfishness always comes in at some point and ruins it all. Like, he'll be on the right path. He'll be like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then he'll do something or say something selfish, and then it kills it all. So, like, and even childish sometimes. So, like, when he went to Herb Kazaz, I forget what exactly was said in the exchange, but at some point he's just like, I'm taking this telescope. You know, like that's when it got, like, crazy. Like, when he was there and he didn't get the closure, he thought he deserved.
Right.
And when he didn't get what he wanted, he acted out and threw a tantrum. You know, when he should have gone to that man, having betrayed him, with nothing but humility and accepted whatever this man gave him, you know, whether it made him feel good or not. As soon as he didn't get those feel-good feelings from saying, hey, cancer buddy who's on his deathbed, I'm sorry I made that mistake. And Herb Kazaz say, it's okay, BoJack. It's all right. Don't worry about it. You know, he didn't get that, which is what he wanted. And as soon as he didn't get that, there comes BoJack. There comes selfish, you know, childish BoJack.
It's his own nature fighting him.
Yeah. And you see it every single time. Every single time. Yeah, and he can't cope with it, and he doesn't know why he does it. He can't stop himself.
Yeah.
You know, and it's tough. It's like a car without brakes. You know, like it's gonna crash eventually. Just when is the question.
And that's why we watch it.
That's why we watch.
That's exactly why we watch it, man.
And it's it's hauntingly hypnotic though when you're watching it, and it's not just him destroying himself anymore. He's destroying every single person around him with his selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how about this? Here, I'll take something a little further. If you want to see the complete opposite, go watch Flaked. Watch Flaked on Netflix with Will Arnett. It's another character played by Will Arnett, which I don't think Will Arnett gets enough love as an actor, because he's always so funny and he's a comedian. He's, you know, that, but I think that he's a good actor. And if you watch Flaked, you'll see something completely different. And watch it to the end. To the absolute end, and you'll be like, holy crap, this is like opposite BoJack. It's awesome.
I won't fail you.
Do not fail me, disciple. Go forth and watch Flaked. But anyways, thanks for joining us, Bearded.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah,
this is basically going to make my day just so much better. Thank you so much.
High five.
Hey, thanks.
Boom.
Yeah.
High five.
Boom.
Can we touch beards?
Yeah, we
Touch
can.
beards.
I can. Yeah, let's see what I can do here.
Your beard just.
There
Oh
we
my
go.
god.
There we
Oh
go.
no.
Get in there. It's
I don't
nice
even
and
want to.
warm.
Thank you.
I can't even imagine what it
Exactly
actually
what I
looks
needed.
like. We need
I
like
can't
an
imagine what it
overhead view.
actually smells like. Hold on. Oh, that's terrible.
All right, Beardcast. Thanks, man.
Later, guys. Have a good day.
See ya. It's like smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-hime.
going cam boy on us here. Jeez.
Gonna have an episode of Smell-o-hime.
Smell-o-hime. All right, well, we've gone pretty long here, guys. 2 hours. So why don't we talk about next week? It's a great episode though so far.
Or
this
not
week.
next week.
Or not next week, but the next episode, whenever we end up doing it.
Next episode.
I guess it'll likely be 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Unless actually I might be able to do the show from San Diego. We could work that out too. So maybe next week. We'll keep everybody updated.
Well, we'll try to figure it out. If we can, then
Yeah.
maybe we can. Some kind of weird live
I'm
thing
sorry,
from a
not
hotel
next
room.
week, but the week after. Hopefully.
Oh, okay. Are you
Either
talking
way.
about that? I was gonna say, like,
Yeah,
you're
not
talking about
like
San
at
Diego.
TwitchCon.
Oh, that's right. You're gonna be in San Diego for.
I'm gonna be on planes all day, we'll figure it out though.
Yeah.
But
We'll definitely figure it out.
who
All
wants
right,
to
drum roll.
reveal?
Drum roll. Bam. Preacher. Actually, I have next week here, but it's it's gonna be when the next episode. So yeah, TV series Preacher, guys. Anybody want to go into it a little bit more?
It can be seen entirely on AMC.com.
Okay.
Like
great.
you can. This is really one of the reasons we picked this, besides it being talked about and stuff, and being a long time love of both Diction and myself. This is available to everybody. You don't need Netflix, you don't need HBO, you don't need any of that stuff. Just look up Preacher streaming or Preacher episodes, and like it's usually the first link that pops up. It'll be AMC, and you can watch them all the way through. Diction, you want to talk about Preacher a little bit? Because I know that you're a big fan of the comic.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read through the entire comic, but I've read the first 2 or 3 volumes, I believe. And I mean, it's fucking wild. It's crazy. It's out there. And the TV show is its own kind of beast because Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, they've been trying to make this for like 10 years, I think, or something.
It's a ridiculous amount of time.
They finally got it okayed and made the show. But then Garth Ennis, when they were like collaborating, said like, you can't just make Preacher. You can't do the same story because people have read that. It's been out for 25 years. Like people have read that story plenty of times. You need to do your own thing. And so the show veers off course dramatically with the same characters in tow. And it's I don't want to get into too much detail, but I like it a lot. And it's a really cool comic adaptation because of that, because they didn't stick to the same guidelines and script of the comic series.
Same thing that worries me, like going into it not knowing anything about the show, having read all of Preacher. I mean, let me give you some backstory here. When I was growing up, when I was 16, 15 years old, the group of guys I hung out with was this dude Scott, who owned a comic book store, and our whole group of friends. Okay,
nice.
And I worked at the comic book store. And Bruce Lee. Some of you guys know Bruce Lee 01. That's when I started hanging out with him. We used to do Halo nights over at his shop, and it was perfect because he had different sections in his store, and we would do LAN parties. But this was like the book that they were like, you're not ready for this. Like, read this first. Tell me what you think about this. Then maybe I'll give this Preacher to you and let you read it when I think you're ready. Like, it was like this weird, like, coming of age thing for me whenever I read it, because they kept it from me purposely for so long. And I let them just kind of like, okay, I want to see what this is all about. So eventually, after, I think when I was like 18 or 19, like 3 years later, they were like, my friend Scott, comic book store owner, goes, all right, you're ready. Like, read volume 1. Because, and I see why he did that, because the comic is out of fucking control. Like, it is so, it is the darkest, grittiest thing. And I think it's what drove my love for dark and gritty things. It's just this manifestation of all things just anti everything. Like, religion especially, it's just so blasphemous, like if you're religious, especially Christian, and you read this, or if you're Catholic or something, like oh my god. But my one worry is that when it goes to AMC, that they're not going to be able to do it justice, because it's so fucked up. There's no way they can show this shit on television. They couldn't. I mean, the stuff that's in this comic is like snuff film type shit to a point.
Wow.
Like,
okay.
it gets really
it's
bad.
NC-17 for sure.
Yeah, or older. Like, I feel like you should be 50 by the time you read this, but you're gonna feel 50 by the time you're done reading it. But here's the thing: is that it's on AMC, so there's obviously going to be cuts that they got to make.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
and part of the reason I thought it was so shocking and so interesting was because of how gritty and dark it got. So I'm kind of scared jumping into it, because I would have really rather been on HBO.
But they get away with a lot.
Okay,
because
good.
Because it's AMC, because they had Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead. Like, they get away with a lot.
Yeah, and if there was a regular channel that could pull it off, AMC's the place I want it to go to.
Yeah.
But I would much rather it have been HBO or Showtime or something like that. But I have a lot of passion and a lot of love for this comic. So I'm very scared to go in and watch.
Is the 10 episodes? So it's 10 episodes, right? Like this season. Is it the first? Is it going to be multiple seasons? It is going to be more than just.
Oh yeah, they got picked up for like 2 more seasons.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so we might have to revisit Preacher at some point too. I'm sure once like maybe the second and third season are done.
Well, at one point we need to do like an extravaganza where we have them like read the comic or watch the show or do both or something. Like get a gap where we're going to be gone for a while because conventions or whatever.
Yeah,
that would be fucking awesome.
Well, I mean, we potentially could be right now. So I mean,
basically, what I'm saying, Chad, is you're not ready.
You're not ready.
You're not
ready.
Right? All right?
You're not
ready.
ready.
You the taste. You're not ready yet. We haven't primed you with correct material first.
Yeah, we did the Killing Joke, which was like very tame, and then we'll do just
Killing
a little taste of the
Preacher,
a little touch of the Preacher, and then we'll go full bore later.
Yeah, if you thought Killing Joke was dark, oh god,
oh, it's not dark. It's not dark.
It is kind of dark, but
it's
like if you consider that to be dark, like you don't know what darkness is. you don't know the pitch black.
Hello, darkness,
my old friend.
I don't know the name of the gun. I just know the sound it makes when it takes a man's life. Kind of.
Wow. Okay. Yes. Nice.
Anyway.
All right. Why don't we wrap up, guys? And thanks for Psycho and Beardicus for calling in and joining the discussion. There's definitely some great stuff that they added. And thanks for everybody for watching too. Diction, where can people find you?
I'm at twitch.tv/EatMyDiction1 and twitter.com/EatMyDiction1. I'll be streaming in like an hour and a half, and I stream like 5 to 6 days a week. Usually in the mornings on the weekdays, PST time, and yeah, we have fun. I have a fluffy cat.
Yes, yes. The main attraction, baby.
You
The
get
fluffy cat.
20% Marla. Like that's part of you. You're like a
She was on the show
transformer.
today. I was holding her for a little while.
That's true. We saw her. We definitely saw her. Hello.
Listen,
People
if
find
I
you.
know the name of your pet,
Yeah.
if I know the name of your pet, you're about your pet because I can barely remember names of people. So if I remember Marla, it's did you name it after a Fight Club?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. If I know
Oh,
your-
nice, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't even get that until now. Yeah, wow.
I figured, and you should as well. You should. Okay, so I'm Ellohime. If you don't know who I am, then I don't know how you
Why are
found
you on this channel?
Why are
Damn
you
it.
here? Okay, so there's a game that came out that I saw that came out, and I want to play it so bad for you guys. So I'm making a promise to you guys. I'm making a promise.
Oh boy.
This is a promise. I will be here tomorrow morning and we will play this fucking game. All right. I'm making this promise. I will not break this promise as everyone who is watching. And this game looks ridiculous. And I'm not
What
even
game
going to
is it?
say it. I'm not even
You
going to
can
say
tell us what game it is? What the
I'm
hell?
not going to say.
Oh my
you
God,
show
okay.
up.
Is it
I-
new or is it old?
I'm not going to say. I just
You
found
piece
it.
of shit.
I found it. And I'm going to show up and I'm going to play it because I know I'm going to have fun with that fucking game. There's no way I can't have fun with it. So
All right.
come back.
Teaser.
Like,
man.
anywhere from
Teaser.
3 to 5 a.m. in the morning, I'll tweet out
Yeah.
because I don't know when I'm going to wake up because my sleep schedule, but I will be here in the morning and we will play this game. I promise. That's going to happen.
Zork. Some guy saying Zork. Yeah. Yeah, baby.
It's called Myth. Okay.
Oh,
Or
Myth.
No, Mist.
Oh, missed. Oh, missed.
I'm just kidding. I called it Myth. My bad.
Oh,
I grew up
God.
playing Myth: The Fallen Lords.
Me too. I love that game.
Oh, God,
Oh,
I
yeah,
love
it
it.
is good. I love that.
But
stuff.
Chanman, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, you can find me on everything that ends in Chanmanv, basically. Just YouTube /Chanmanv, Twitter /Chanmanv, and Twitch twitch.tv/Chanmanv. I do a bunch of other podcasts and shows too for pertaining to Hearthstone and Overwatch. So if you like any of those games too, check out my YouTube. All the VODs are there. And also another thing too, guys, with the show, the spoiler alert is available on iTunes also. So you can, if you guys like to listen on the way to work or whatnot, you can find it by typing spoiler alert right now. And if you want to help us out, trying to get ranked up a little bit, I don't even know what people search for honestly to find spoiler alert. So we might need to figure that out. But leaving reviews, obviously good 5-star for reviews, and some comments too really helps out with that. So if you do like the show, I encourage you to do so. That definitely helps out a lot. But
I prefer that you be honest with your 5-star rating because I still want it to be a 5-star rating. I just want you to be honest about it.
I think it's only worth 4 stars. Then don't be shy.
Don't even no. I'm not
no.
That's
That's not
if
what
it's
he's
4
saying.
stars,
That's what he's
don't
saying.
put anything. I only want 5 stars. That's it. If you feel 5 stars,
Oh,
if you
gosh.
don't say anything.
Yeah,
Nobody
exactly.
needs
Exactly.
needs
That's
your
what we're
opinion.
saying.
We don't grow. We have to have a
We don't grow.
criticism.
We don't
No,
grow.
it just hurts us. So if you're not gonna give us 5 stars,
Oh man.
don't fucking bother.
Don't even
awesome.
bother.
Oh, another thing,
Delete
too,
iTunes.
another thing too, guys. If you guys want to tweet us some suggestions, as to we're always trying to figure out what to do the following week. It's literally like, hey guys, what do you want to do the following week? Like a few hours before the show.
Yeah.
At times, it'd be great for you guys to give us some ideas too, because we don't have endless amounts of ideas yet. At least.
Yeah.
We're gonna be like, we're gonna do Sex in the City
Oh
all
my
10
God.
No.
seasons.
No,
I won't even do
Yeah,
one.
man,
we
you're
get a
Samantha.
veto right now. We've got vetoing abilities here. No. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for the show. So if you guys missed any of the beginning of it, you can check out the VODs too. Probably here on Ellohime's Twitch, or I'm going to post it on my YouTube channel too. So yeah, you can catch it there. But that's going to be it, guys, for EatMyDiction, Ellohime, and myself, Chanmanv. We'll see you next time.
Take it easy.
Later.
Blowing them kisses.